Tennessee's out of the college football playoff picture. The Vols have no signature win. Moving forward, off week this week, New Mexico State, at Florida, and then at home against Vanderbilt, and you have a chance to do something you hadn't done in 20-some-odd years at Florida, and then we'll see where Vanderbilt is at the end of the season. Could Tennessee play spoiler there? My question for you guys is, and I think it's different inside the locker room than it is, on the journalist quarters, obviously, or just the pulse of the fan base in general. But Brent, how do you get this team to stay motivated and to keep on playing and knowing that there's wins out there? You can finish with 9 wins or whatever it is, but in this era of the expanded playoff field where it's playoff or bust, it's already kind of outside that locker room. It's like, oh man, well the season's over. But those guys can't play that way. Those guys can't think that way. What's the motivation like for Heupel, the leaders on this team? How are you going to go about this week? Because this is some pretty rough waters right now in that regard.
Well, you hope that you have guys who are made of the right stuff,
yeah,
and that they're competitors. Austin, I'll go back to this is a little tease to your Beyond the Orange that's going to come out in a few weeks. I mean, you sat down with Casey Clausen, Tennessee. Now this is years ago, pre-playoff and all that stuff. But I mean, Tennessee went from playing for a national championship to going to the Citrus Bowl. And Casey walked into the team room, Austin, and basically told them, if you don't want to play, then don't get on the bus, right?
That's right. I mean, he talked about that. Just stay at home. I mean, when you have the right kind of leadership, when you have the right guy, that people gravitate to, then the motivation is pretty simple. We had Tyree Weathersby out on the locker room Sunday night, and we talked about off camera, like, what's the motivation for this team? And, the motivation is, do you want to play in a bowl game in shorts, or do you want to play in a bowl game in sweatpants in Charlotte and Nashville or Memphis? And so, like, I mean, that if you come out there, you do what you're supposed to do, you win the next 3, they're going to be in Florida playing a bowl game. And at that point, I mean, is it perfect? No, but I mean, like, you have something at least to build towards. It's a fine line to over the next 3 weeks to hunt and play a bunch of young kids versus making sure some of those young kids that you really like get enough of a taste to where they feel some momentum going into the offseason. And so, like, all the people in the general quarters that want George to be the starting quarterback, that's not going to happen. That want, all the young kids to play, that may happen a little bit. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the same people screaming to play young kids would be screaming bloody murder if a bunch of young kids, blow a close game at the Swamp when you've not won down there since 2003 or lose to Vanderbilt at home. So at the end of the day, the staff has to balance and tightrope the Grand Canyon and, all those factors over the next few weeks. But ultimately, they just got to find a way to get a win, whatever it takes. Like I said on TV Sunday night, style points are great. You ain't worried about style points at this point.
Nope.
Win by 1 point. It does not matter. Find a way. And it doesn't matter if you're going against the interim coach in Gainesville or what. You find a way to get a win.
Rob, how do you do that? I mean, I agree with what AP just said, but how do you walk that rope and that balancing act of, like, yeah, we need to see more Jaden Harmon. We need to see more of, some Radarius Jackson. It's like Heupel there before halftime a couple weeks ago. We need to see more of Jackson and Jaden Harmon and some of these young, I'm doing it again, younger guys. But you got to go out there and win, right? So how do you balance that and kind of walk that rope?
I would be kind of conscious of it, I guess, but I'm really, it's not much of a balance for me. I'm trying to win at Gainesville and beat Vanderbilt. I mean, if I can play, Jaden Harmon, Jalen Perlotti a little bit, that's great. But I'm trying to win in the Swamp for the first time in 2 decades. I mean, I don't remotely think those are meaningless games at all. I mean, if you got kids on your team that do, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, and I'm not saying that. I'm not blind and saying that some people don't. I mean, yeah, I get it. They do. But, this is – I mean, you got a month of football left. I mean, this is – to say that you're playing – if you have a bunch of people that think you're playing meaningless football, I mean, you've got a problem in your program. And I get that there are probably a lot of people out there that have that. But, I mean, it's on the one hand, I totally get it. On the other hand, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that people would think you still are going to play Vanderbilt in Florida, the best Vanderbilt team in my lifetime, and a Florida, and you just don't win in the Swamp and think that, it's hard to get fired up for. But maybe it is. Maybe I am that out of touch. But for me, it would not be hard to get fired up for these two if I'm wearing a Tennessee uniform.
Well, you hope the defense found a little something Saturday night. And I'll be the first to say Oklahoma is not super dynamic on offense, but guess what? Kentucky's not either. And they went up and down the field like it was the 2000 Rams against the Vols. And then the next week, put up 10 at Auburn. So
enough to get Hugh fired.
That's right, 100%. But like my point though is Tennessee's defense did find a little something Saturday night. I mean, yeah, Oklahoma ends up with 33 points, 7 of which was on a scooping score, but they forced a bunch of field goals. They got a bunch of stops. Oklahoma had the one touchdown there with 45 seconds to go or whatever. When Tennessee was just trying to pull off a Hail Mary. I mean, Tennessee's defense really, they tackled better. They got off the field a lot more consistently Saturday night. If you can get that kind of effort and performance against Florida and Vanderbilt, and your offense, finds, traction again, you can win those football games because that was a defense that you can win with. It wasn't perfect, but it was certainly way better than it has been.
To put things in perspective, and Brent, I don't want you to answer because I think I think you've written about it. How many times this year, guys, has Tennessee completed a football game defensively with less than 10 missed tackles? They played 9 games. How many times have they had less than 10 missed tackles?
I'm going to go with Saturday night. It's the only one.
I would have gone with 0, but obviously the answer must be 1.
It's actually 3 times. They started 9 missed tackles against Syracuse, 8 against ETSU, but since then Tennessee's had double-digit missed tackles. They've averaged 12 missed tackles a game. They had 5 missed tackles against Oklahoma. 5. And that goes back to what you were saying. I mean, they tackle better. I thought Ty Redmond played with a lot more confidence. I thought Idris Farouk was a baller. I thought Edwin Spillman made plays. It was really, really good to see, for sure. And you're right. Oklahoma's not dynamic offensively. Mateer is not who he was to begin the season. But again, Cutter Boley was really, really bad football player before he played Tennessee. And he wasn't that great on Saturday. So, to your point, hopefully Tennessee's defense kind of found something and, moving forward. And again, kind of going back to that conversation we were having about, walking that road, playing young guys and all. Brent, again, that's kind of where the separation is. Fans, short for fanatic, Twitter. It's not real life. It's different in that locker room. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there that are playing for a lot and they're motivated, and it's up to the leadership of this team to get them steered in the right direction to go out there and try to win some football games. But it's just kind of, it's a product of where we are in college football, to where it's just, again, playoffs or bust, and it's not necessarily like that in every single locker room.
Well, I think the challenge is once you get into the playoff theater one time as a fan base, from that point on, it's playoff or bust. It's kind of irrelevant otherwise to a lot of fans. Now, that's not reality. I mean, there's still going to be fans show up for games. It will not be a packed house for New Mexico State, right? but there'll be fans there for Vanderbilt, you think, particularly if Tennessee could find a way to win at Florida. Florida fans are still going to be there. But what we perceive and what fans perceive outside of the locker room and what needs to be in a locker room and what you believe is going to be in a locker room are 2 different things. Now, that doesn't mean player agents aren't working stuff behind the scenes, but guess what? There were some player agents working things behind the scenes 3 weeks ago. That's how this works. So what you hope is that none of that becomes a distraction for a player, and the leadership and the competitiveness of a player stays and continues all the way through the finish, because Rob's right. I mean, nobody needs to be acting like these are throwaway games. I mean, this is not the November of 1995 where you're playing 3 teams that can't line up with you. If you were playing that schedule and we were in that world, then the topic of who should play quarterbacks may be a different topic, or how do you get the young guys in? But you got to go find a way to win. Josh Heupel needs wins. This program needs to win, So there's where Rob's right in that it's not the tightrope. Now, if the New Mexico State game goes the way you think it goes, then you got to play a bunch of people, and you got to handle that different. We'll talk about that in another week or so when you get ready for that game. But you got to manage that part of it the right way. And we'll see. Defensively, yeah, you're trying to build off that. At the same time, too, you have to recognize that is an Oklahoma team that doesn't push the ball vertical at all. So guess what? Farouk can play downhill because he's not worried about the ball getting thrown over his head. Why is Ty Redmond sitting on slants? Because he's not worried about that guy making a double move, because that's not who they are. They're not a vertical passing team. Now, you hope that they take confidence from that, but they're going to play a Florida team that's going to try to throw it over your head. They're going to play a Vanderbilt team that'll throw it vertical on you. And so you just have to grow off of what you did Saturday night. And there were certainly some positive things defensively. And then offensively, you're going to have to score 30 points, I think, to win football games. I think that's who this team and who this year's version of the Vols are. You got to try to hold them under 30 defensively, and offensively, you got to score 30 or more to win it.
Quick question before we move on, Megan. Will you throw up that picture I sent you? You said it's not going to be a packed house. Will there be more fans in attendance than this?
Yeah, there'll be.
If you're watching on YouTube, you see it. If you're listening, Grant Ramey sent us a Facebook memory Monday morning, and a remarkably empty Neyland Stadium 14 minutes before kickoff against Troy, November 3rd, 2012. And there is nobody there. Yeah, long gone are those days, right, AP, where let's say like you can almost count, get a good ballpark number from the press box.
Do what, AP?
So is that football's version of black curtains at Food City Center?
Yeah. I mean, people are upset, but you guys know that the apathy level is nowhere near.
It's how they've lost, right? Like again, it's that the Georgia thing, the Oklahoma thing. When people could see with their own eyes that you could have won those games and you didn't, and the mind-numbing mistakes that caused the defeat. That's where the fans are frustrated. And Hubs hit the nail on the head. I mean, when you've done something you've never done before and you liked it, and all of a sudden you don't get to do it again, it's a thing, right? I mean, you go to a really fancy restaurant that you've never been before and you really like it, but then you don't go back, or you
play this golf course that you really like. You've never been there before.
100%. That's right. Fly on a private plane, whatever. It's a when something's taken away that you really enjoyed, people get upset. Period.
Well, and also, think of the doom and gloom last April. The day Nico walked out the door. If somebody had told you, "Hey, 9-3," people would have been like, "That's great." But then you found out that, hey, Joey's actually better than Nico, and offense can score points again, and it's fun to watch football games. But now 9-3 doesn't sound so great.
Well, because you had opportunities. It's the same thing. Let's use a basketball example, Rob. I mean, Zakai Ziegler goes down with a torn ACL. Everybody says that season's over, right? It's over. Then you get in the tournament, and all of a sudden you're playing for a chance to go to the Elite Eight?
Elite Eight, yeah.
And you're playing a team that you should have beat, felt like you could beat Florida Atlantic, and you don't get it done.
Perfect example.
In baseball, like, wait a minute, we're not going to Omaha? We go to Omaha every year. What do you mean you're not going to Omaha last year? A bad year. I mean, that's what happens when you get a taste of it at that point. That's why you're seeing coaches who are winning games who are losing jobs in some cases. Like, it's not good enough. But they won 75% of their games. That should be a laydown. No, it's not good enough, because you've created this level of expectation, and then when you don't get it, then that's where fans, are mad and frustrated, and that's where they are right now. It's about what could have been for this team with those two games that you didn't get done, and that's the world of fandom. That's where we live in this day and age.
The first half against Georgia changed all those expectations.
Well, and
the first quarter against Georgia changed the expectation. The guy went 14 for 14, and he scored 21 points.
That's right. Second quarter was bad. First quarter, that's when all the expectations changed.
You're sitting there going, holy crap, this team's great. We're elite. Nobody can stop us. That's Georgia. We never score. I mean, you scored more points in the first quarter against Georgia, Rob, than they probably had in the last 3 games.
Or at least meaningful points against Georgia. I mean, not just when they were playing prevent and you're trying to cover behind.
Yeah, I just think that fans, and it's going to take a while. It's not their fault. It's going to take a while to realize that, you're going to lose games. We go back to, Georgia could have as many as 4 losses. Now, they found ways to win, right? Credit them.
And that's what Tennessee, that's the next step for Tennessee, I think.
But, you're just going to play a bunch of tough games. Winning on the road at Mississippi State in overtime, yeah, at the time you're like, oh, that's ridiculous. But
And
I
you're
mean,
adding another game moving forward.
you know, yeah, you're adding another game going forward. Like you look at like Texas has lost twice. They could have easily lost 4 games, if not 5. I mean, they Alabama could have easily lost multiple games. They could have lost to South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and South Carolina let them off the hook.
Well,
And so, like this gets more and more like the NFL every day. The key is to not be Auburn. The key is, to not be like Florida currently, where you've lost too many games. But like you're going to drop, 1 to 3 games a year, even if you're really, really good.